For centuries, Europe was a patchwork of dynastic empires ruled by absolute monarchs. To be born meant being a subject to a crown, bound to whatever king or emperor claimed the dirt you stood on. Look at a map today and you see neat, distinct lines defining independent countries. But rewind to the early 19th century and those neat lines dissolve into a chaotic, overlapping mess of territories, duchies, and sprawling imperial holdings. In 1848, Frédéric Sorrieu painted a utopian dream, a global procession marching past the Statue of Liberty. Scattered below are the shattered remains of absolute royal power. The crowd marches not as property, but as distinct nations with specific flags. The modern nation is a synthetic, highly engineered concept. Turning it into a reality required people to physically dismantle centuries-old empires and replace them with entirely new, shared identities. That invention began in France in 1789. The French Revolution was a massive, violent laboratory testing what a modern nation could be. For the first time, ultimate political power, sovereignty, was transferred from a single monarch directly to the people. The revolutionaries replaced the passive status of royal subjects with active citizenship. They introduced new terminology into daily life: la patrie, meaning the fatherland, and le citoyen, the citizen. These words transformed the population into active participants in a shared political community. These new identities were codified into law. The Declaration of the Rights of Man explicitly defined what it meant to be a French citizen, establishing a shared legal bedrock for millions of people. The revolution established that a country could be defined by a shared legal and political identity, effectively severing the ancient link between the state and the physical person of a king. Lofty philosophical ideals required a practical infrastructure to survive. Creating a cohesive nation required standardizing the gritty, mundane details of daily life for millions. Liberal revolutionaries pushed to eliminate chaotic regional dialects and conflicting local laws. They introduced uniform systems, like these rigid conversion tables for the metric system, ensuring a kilogram weighed the exact same in Paris as in Marseille. Uniform measurements allowed merchants to trade without constantly calculating local conversions. It enabled economic integration and allowed free markets to operate across regions that used to view each other with suspicion. This is a map showing the incredibly complex, fragmented internal borders of the German Confederation in the 19th century. Moving goods across this landscape meant paying customs duties at dozens of different checkpoints. To solve this, these independent states formed an integrated economic trade zone, using commerce to force a fragmented region into a unified political identity. This strategy was driven by a growing, educated middle class. Merchants, school teachers, and clerks carried these highly effective economic and legal frameworks across borders, sparking a chain reaction of unification movements across the continent. A centralized state achieved national unity by physically binding the economic survival and daily routines of its citizens to a single unified system. By 1882, the map of Europe had stabilized significantly. That year, at the Sorbonne University in Paris, a French philosopher named Ernst Renan delivered a lecture to define exactly what the 19th century had just built. Renan explicitly rejected the popular idea that a nation is simply a group of people who share the same language, race, religion, or geography. Instead, Renan argued that a nation is built on two specific things. The first is a shared history, a heroic past, common glories, and the collective social capital of shared sacrifice and struggle. The second criterion was even more radical. Renan called it a daily plebiscite, a continuous, direct vote. He meant that a nation exists because its people actively choose to remain united every single day. In his view, a world with only one law and one master would mean the end of freedom. The existence of multiple, distinct nations acts as a necessary defense against global tyranny and the ultimate guarantor of human liberty. The modern nation-state is a conscious, ongoing decision. It is the result of ordinary people choosing to step out from the shadow of empires and actively command their own future.